why don't I open us in prayer, and then we can talk about your time.
Okay.
So, dear Heavenly Father, I just thank you so much for being here with us. And I just thank you for the blessings on Travis's career and all that you're opening up for him. I just ask that this would continue to flow and more possibilities would become available for him. And I thank you for all of our members here, Lord God, and each one of them has a passion and desire to serve you. So may the things that Travis has to share with them bless them and spark some creative ideas for their own career. In your most holy, precious name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Oh, we lost Alexis.
Oh, did we? Maybe she'll be back. One of the things that I think is important before we even get into your time on the set, Travis, is just talking about what led up to it ahead of time that you were able to actually be on that set.
Well, that Susan Willis, she runs Mama Bear Casting, and we're local in the area. Well, she of course gets the casting calls for the shows in Augusta. They needed somebody to be a stand-in for the male actors, and she contacted me asking for height, weight, all that good stuff, measurements, and pictures. And then she sent all that off to the producers, and they gave the green light, and I showed up to work. So,
and before all even that happened, wouldn't you say that you've been building a relationship with Susan, and that was part of why she would call you, because she knew she could count on you and your reputation?
Well, that, and yeah, definitely. We have our local group, Actor Circle, that we get together with, and we've definitely built a relationship through there, doing the challenges and just talking as friends or talking as casting director and prospective person. But yeah, it's definitely been a beneficial relationship, and got a good friend out of it at the same time. So
yeah, I just think it's important to highlight that.
Oh yeah,
because so many actors hear casting director and they think that they're the gatekeeper and they're to be feared, where actually they're just people like us, and they're looking for their next gig too. So the more we can relate to them just as a human being and appreciate them, I think that goes a long way in them remembering you.
Well, and another thing I will say about Susan, in my opinion, Susan is not the typical casting director. From what I've seen, it granted is very limited, but from what I've seen, she's also one of those that tries to maintain those relationships outside of the work environment with the people that she casts, and she goes the extra mile to do things for people or keep people involved in the information she puts out. I don't have anything bad to say about her. So,
oh, good. Well, that speaks very highly of her. So I'll kind of let you go if there are certain things you wanted to talk about, but I would be interested if you saw a difference in the times you've been in faith-based and the times you've been in mainstream, if you're seeing a difference or the way you're conducting yourself at all.
Any difference in how I conduct myself? No. I can, in this area, everything's pretty local. I mean, it's kind of has a small town feel, but they're trying to put on some bigger pants to do bigger and better things. So a lot of the people here kind of delve in both worlds. I will say that the people from out of town, the crew that was from out of town, dropped a lot more F-bombs and some colorful metaphors and all that good stuff than the local people usually do. You could definitely tell the two areas mixing, but it wasn't to a point where anybody felt uncomfortable, or if somebody did have a problem with something, they were very vocal about it, and everybody was very accommodating. So,
oh, that's good to hear. But I do think it's a good idea because we do want to be a light, and not just, I would hope people would not want to do just faith-based, that they want to be out there.
Mhm.
So if they can prepare themselves for, like you're saying, some swearing or a little bit different, just the fact that they're going to be working with people that don't have the same values, but they're still probably very nice people.
Yeah, I met some very colorful people from all different backgrounds, and we all were there to do a job, and we all worked together, and we all got along, and it was, in a lot of ways, it kind of reminded me of the military because it's just a blending pot of everybody from across the country,
Uh-huh.
and everybody, you know, I won't say is forced to get along, but everybody knows that if you don't, it's going to make your time there miserable. So everybody does. So
Yeah. I know because I came from theater, and when I was on professional sets, I was doing background so I could just feel comfortable on a film set. And I wanted to help the gaffers in this. I was there, and they're like, no, 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 no. That's my job. You don't do that. So
yeah,
it's just me, you had downtime and you wanted to be doing something.
well, eventually speaking of that, the PAs and the gaffers, even the second AD and the first AD finally just got tired of telling me to stop that somebody else's job and just let me jump in and help because I was tired of sitting around.
Oh, well, that was great.
I mean, I was pulling electrical equipment with the gaffers, and I was helping the PAs set up tents and move chairs or whatever, because otherwise it's just you're sitting there until you called. And,
So you'll be getting that union card pretty soon, huh?
well, yeah, they said, they were joking around, and they were talking about, I'm going to have to be like in 5 different places on the credits because, they got me with the gaffers and but yeah, it was, um, I went into it kind of like how I go into everything else. I grew up on, in the country, so there's an expected work ethic, and then the military, and then medicine. I've always had a really strong work ethic, and I hate sitting around doing nothing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, stand-ins don't have to, but I would get the sides the night before, and I would actually memorize the sides, going over what we were going to be shooting, and that turned into probably 11 out of the 13 days that I was there, being off to the side with the actors, rehearsing their lines with them.
Yeah.
Just because I walked up when one of the actors, Aiden, was going over his lines, and he kept having to read over, the other lines to give his responses. I just walked up and I said, "Hey man, I know the lines. You want to practice?" And we walked off into a field and we sat there for 20 minutes while they were setting up. So I mean, it was,
Right.
um, you know, some of the other folks were sitting around on their phones, not doing anything, and they didn't get the experience out of it that I got just because I was being proactive to get in there and jump in with both feet.
Yeah, that's another example of building great relationships. He will remember you. He might not remember all the specifics, but he will remember your kindness to him. Um, I think there might be some people on here who don't know the difference in doing background and being a stand-in. Could you explain what your
The
how
difference.
do I, yeah, explain the difference, and then because there is a lot involved in that with
Oh yeah.
blocking and everything.
Well, with background, you're just that, your background. You're the people walking on the sidewalk, or you're people sitting at a cafe or whatever. But with stand-in, most of the time, you're never on camera unless it's for, the blooper reel or something. Um, the DP will come in with the lighting guys, and they will ask for this. They'll show the stand-in what the blocking is for the scene, and then they'll have you go through that blocking, and then they'll set up the lighting, the camera angles, and everything else off of that. And then when they call them team 2, when team 1 comes in, which is the main talent, it's either going to be the somebody else on set, or the stand-in walking the actors through the blocking, and that's basically our role. I mean, it's inglorious, but it's needed on set to get everything picture perfect, I guess.
Right. And that's also why it's so important when they pick you for the height, because the
Mhm.
lighting needs to be similar for the actor, and your coloring that's going to affect the lighting and the look and all that. Um,
And I
but,
will say, because like there were some rather big names on here, and I was very fortunate to meet them. Mel
mhm.
Gibson was there, and Jason Isaac and Dermot Mulroney were the three biggest ones, and they're all shorter than me.
Oh, okay.
The person that I was um, most most like was Aiden Cantu, and he's 6'1" like I am, and we're built pretty much the same. So that part was fine. But for all those other guys, I'm either having to hunch or bend my knees and squat down, and um, like I said, it's inglorious, and sometimes you walk out of there with some quivering legs because you've been standing in a weird position for so long. But it's kind of funny. But
Uh-huh. I have to tell you, you and I share something in common because I was I was background. I wasn't the stand-in, but I was background on a Mel Gibson movie. And
okay,
I that was way back. Do you remember the conspiracy theory?
oh yeah, I love that movie.
Well, I actually, when we went and saw it later, I was in the theater scene where he's getting away from the bad guy and he's stepping over people.
Right.
I totally was the only person on this camera watching the movie. And the only person on the screen though, and it was so exciting when we saw it in the movie theaters, we were like screaming, that's like, that's me. And so I thought when I got the DVD, I could get it, and they cut it in the
Oh,
DVD.
no way.
And that was fun. But I thought, oh, you and I share that. But I was surprised. Mel Gibson is not a tall guy.
No. And in talking to him, if you're familiar with Lethal Weapon,
Uh-huh.
in real life, he of course he's older now, but he is Martin Riggs. That is Mel Gibson that you're going to meet in person.
Oh wow.
It was kind of funny, kind of like I don't know, just kind of caught me off guard. I was expecting, just because of the stuff he's done, I was not expecting that full time. But and I was actually background in one of his movies back in 2000, and it was only
Oh.
because I was active duty stationed at Fort Benning when they were filming We Are Soldiers,
Oh wow.
and I was one of the guys that was pulling stretchers off the helicopters when they were coming in. But
Were you able to share that with him?
I was, and sadly, he did not remember me. So, but this was the first opportunity that I had gotten to actually speak to him, and so all these thoughts are running through your head. I got to leave an impression,
Mhm.
and I was sitting there waiting for the lighting guys to finish their lighting so I could get up and give him his seat. Well, he comes in and he sits down next to me, and he's going over his lines while they're getting all the camera angles and stuff set up. And my first words to Mel Gibson were, because I had put my sides down in front of me, and I took my reading glasses off and I set them on the table, and he had his reading glasses there too. Well, they're the same exact ones that I have.
Oh wow.
My first words are, "Which one of these glasses are mine?" So, but
So,
um, excuse me,
uh-huh.
drywall dust.
Mm.
But any other burning questions on it, or just
Well, just if you have any tips for the other actors, if they would like to get into this, um, how to do that, and also any tips for being on set and how to be helpful but not in the way, and be open to some divine appointments, maybe.
well, definitely, like I said, my relationship with the casting director in our area, Susan, is what got me into this.
Mhm.
It's pretty much, if you look like what they're trying to have you stand in for, that's probably the best way I know to get into it. But have a relationship with the casting directors and stuff like that. Um, Attitude and conduct on set are big. I actually saw two PAs told to leave because of their attitude and or conduct on set. Being on time is very key. Even if you have to stand in line for 45 minutes to get your COVID shot, they want you actually on the set when you're supposed to be there. I think we had 120 crew altogether. So everybody's running around doing their job. They got tunnel vision. They are not looking out for you. They are not looking to step around you or over you. If you're going to get into this, you need to figure out where your place is. And then if you want to do anything different, figure out how you can get involved in it without interrupting the flow of things. There's 120 different jobs all happening simultaneously. And if you get in there and mess up one, it's going to mess up 6 more down the road. So,
time is very much money on the set.
Very much. And when they say break for lunch, don't sit around talking for 20 minutes and think you're going to eat in 10 because the food's already gone. So
that is very important to know.
Yeah. Because when they say break for lunch, it's kind of like the start of a marathon. Everybody starts running in the same direction at the same time, and they try to get to the front of the line as fast as possible because that's where the best food is.
And you got to let the crew go first.
Right. Well, thankfully, with being stand-in, I was considered crew.
Oh, that was nice.
Yeah, and since I've got longer legs than a lot of them, I got to the front of the line a lot quicker. So.
And besides just being hierarchy, people should know. Hi, Julia. People should know that it's also because the crew needs to get back right away before everybody else,
right?
So they can start getting things ready and rolling.
Yeah, they're usually there. I don't know, sometimes 30 minutes before directors, the DPs, and all that stuff even show up on scene just to get everything laid out for the lights and everything else to come in later on.
Yeah.
So if you go into it with a good attitude, a strong work ethic, and just make yourself available, more doors are going to open up. Like I said, stand-ins we're really not supposed to be interacting that much with the main talent, especially some of the bigger names and stuff like that. But just because of the way we were conducting ourselves, or mainly the way I was conducting myself, like I said, I was rehearsing lines with them. Jason Isaacs, I'm walking him back and forth to his smoke breaks, and we're discussing certain things. He Black Hawk Down, he played one of my prior commanders in the military.
Oh, wow.
Captain Steele. So me and him had a lot of conversations about that. And don't be starstruck. They're regular people. They just have a really cool job. I mean, they're regular people. I really don't know how else to put it. It's they're used to people treating them a certain way, and when you just treat them like regular people, they open up and actually don't have to have their defenses up as much as they normally do.
Right. That's very valuable, Travis. Did you have any memorable moments that you can share?
Well, yeah. And I'll let this actor remain nameless. We're at an airport and we're shooting inside of one of the Lear jets or whatever. And they've got the jet set up, and production's out in front of it coming down the stairs, and we've got our tents over on the side, and there's a field behind us, and that's where I was going with some of the other actors rehearsing lines and stuff. Well, we're out there one night. We were out there till almost 3 a.m. and about 1:30. I'm one of the bad people. I still smoke the occasional cigarette, but so I walked off into the field. It's getting late. The coffee's not working, so I'm going out to the field to get away from everybody and have a cigarette. Well, I look over because I see somebody in my peripheral, and there's another actor out there just having a relieving moment of nature in the middle of the field. So I had to turn around real quick and make sure I wasn't looking that
way. That's funny though.
Not shy or bashful about it whatsoever. So at least he had the good graces to at least turn to like a 45-degree angle.
They're just people.
Yep, just regular people.
Wow.
um,
So,
met a ton of people that I otherwise would have never met. Have maintained those relationships, just friendly conversations every once in a while. Kind of like this group. I've met, same thing here. I've met people that I never would have met a year ago because of this group. And just that one instance on set, um, I met people that I never even would have thought to look up or, try to befriend or whatever.
mhm.
It's one thing this going down this career path has taught me is you never know what one moment or interaction is going to lead to. Um, I answered a Facebook ad, not even a Facebook ad, but one of my friends, um, Susan, was needing background people for a movie that was done last year. I've known the person that posted this since we were in high school together. I was bored. I saw the thing where they were asking for somebody to come in for background. I'm like, yeah, that sounds cool. I'll do that. And a year and 6 days later, I'm on set with Mel Gibson.
Yeah.
It's everything is what you make of it. It's all in your attitude. It's all in your work ethic. It's all in how you treat people. It's not rocket science. It's just, you know.
Have you considered following up with any of them, just sending a note or something? Just
I the line producers. I still talk to the director. I mean, I've got friends on Facebook now that like I said, I would never would have thought of, and and it's not. I'm not talking shop with them. I'm just being people with them. I'm not. I don't. One of the big things I've had conversations with Ricky about this. I cannot stand people that try to form a relationship with you for that one-sided beneficial thing, the sycophants and stuff like that. I cannot stand that. It irritates my soul. So I'm very careful about trying to maintain these relationships without making it sound like I'm trying to get anything out of it other than what it is.
Yeah.
I've literally in the past 2 months, I've turned down 2 things because people thought that's what I was going for. I'm like, no, that's number one. I was not a good fit for the character, but they were giving me that character because out of a sense of obligation or whatever, they thought I was maintaining this relationship. And we had some heart-to-heart conversations and wished them well in finding somebody better suited. So.
Well, that's good. I think that shows that you're honorable, and they'll remember that when they do have something that's more appropriate.
Either that or I shot myself in the foot and I just don't know it yet. One of the
two. Well, every once in a while they have those articles of the actors that turned down a role and then somebody else that was their linchpin.
Yeah, exactly. So.
Hopefully that won't be the case here.
But about the only downfall to the job is, and this is especially true for the other stand-ins who stayed in the chair, kept their face buried in their phone, and had no interaction with anybody else going on. They were stupidly bored. I mean, because sometimes they would use us, we're on set for, 8, 10, 12, sometimes 13, 14 hours. Sometimes they'll use us once a day. Sometimes they'll use us 24 times a day. It just depends on what they're setting up. And if you're just going to sit there and be a bump on the log, they're going to look over you every time. I was looking over the DP shoulders more than I was in the tent where I was supposed to be, or I was talking to the stunt coordinators or the lighting people to figure out, why certain lighting works better than others. And once they found out that I wasn't trying to be a nuisance, that I was actually, retaining the information and having conversations about it, they were very, very open. And it was a very, very good educational experience.
So from that, do you think there would be other roles behind the scenes you would be interested in beside acting, or is acting still?
Acting's still my number one. If I ever got anything else, and if my wife didn't beat me over the head for saying this, probably still is.
Well, I have some stunt guys I could connect you with if you want to.
Actually, I'm still in contact with the stunt coordinator.
Oh,
Actually,
okay.
there was a stunt coordinator and two main stuntmen, but all three of them are stunt coordinators for their own shows, and I'm
Uh-huh.
still in contact with them. They're a bunch of great guys. I mean, they remind me of being in the military. I mean, they have a
Uh-huh.
job. They're very strict on how they do it. Everything is done purposefully and for a reason, and it's watching them. I gained a whole new respect for some of the stuff that I see on TV. So because
Yeah.
we had some pretty extreme stunts on this one as far as explosions and stuff like that goes. So it was very, very eye opening.
Yeah, they're a little bit crazy, but they're a lot of fun.
Yeah, they're a little bit nuts.
Well, looks like we have a couple people on. So if you guys have any questions for Travis about actually working as a stand-in on set, and it sounds like it was very, very beneficial to him um, just to be around this, not only from the knowledge that he gained watching everybody, but actually relationships he was able to form. So,
Yeah, I
yeah.
think that's interesting because I was advised not to do background work when I started. And but I'm like you, I'm so interested in what's happening, like the camera angles, and I'll do anything. Like, what do you want me to do? Like clean the gum off of the bottom of the table? I don't know, whatever. Like I'll do it. I just love the whole atmosphere of being on set. It's so exciting, all the things. So you would suggest to do it. Go
Well,
for it.
there's a difference between background work and being a stand-in. Because as a stand-in, you're never on camera. You're actually part of the crew.
Oh, right.
So
Right.
this will not go on my actor's resume.
Right.
There was no interaction with my agents on this. This was just I contacted my agent and said, hey, I'm not going to be available for bookings during this time frame, and went into it hoping to learn, and walked away with it astounded by everything that I learned that I did not know that I was going to learn.
Awesome. Thanks for differentiating that. I had forgotten that. Yeah, what that meant.
But in a heartbeat, if you ever get, like I said, there are some downtimes, and every crew is different. So I can't say that my experience is going to be what somebody else experiences. But as far as an educational side of things, or just a peek behind the curtain to see everything that goes on and all the moving parts, I would highly recommend it if the opportunity ever came up.
Right.
And you don't even get credit. I mean, my name will be forgotten once this production gets out of post. And I mean, you're not in the credits. You don't get IMDb or anything for it. It's just you show up, you get paid, you do your job, and it's pretty much, in my opinion, it's up to you on the experience you get out of it.
Right. It's like education. Just take it.
Mm-hmm. And especially one of the big things I got out of it, especially as an actor, there was two actors on there, and I hope I don't get in trouble for saying their names, but Aiden Cantu and a guy named Reese Coro. Watching those two guys, they're still relatively new, even though they've been in the business for 15 or so years. They're not immediate household names, even though if you saw them, you would recognize them. But watching them in their preparation, from going from a side over in the tents to getting on set, dropping into character, and just becoming the role, watching them was I probably got more out of watching them do their work than I got out of some of the acting classes I've been in.
Wow.
It was, and I took it a step further. That's when I started, once I was able to start rehearsing the lines with them, I would start trying to, pick their brains a little bit on downtimes and stuff like that about, what their processes were for going through things and how deep their backstory goes, and just all the mental preparation that they put into it. And I was really astounded that they do not know their lines half the time until they get on set that morning.
Oh my goodness.
And that was pretty much all of them.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So Travis, could you share some of those tips on what you gleaned from them talking about their process?
Well, Reese's big thing was backstory. Um, his backstory went back 5 years on his character, and some of the things that he was fuzzy on, he found out that I was prior military, so I actually got to help him establish some of that backstory. Just on because he wanted to get the verbiage right, and he wanted to get, just whatever was going to
Mm-hmm.
make his character stronger on camera. And then also very heavy improv skills. Like, it was like watching Robin Williams when he got on camera, because the director would call action, he would go through what was on the sides, and then the director would keep it rolling, and he would go through that same scene, especially in the close-ups or whatever. He would go through that same scene but never say the same line twice. I mean, he was just rattling off different things that carried the same meaning, but it was very impressive to watch.
And so the director was fine with that.
Yeah, I honestly think that there's a relationship between those two. I think they've known each other for a long time. So he was, as far as Aiden was he was very meticulous in the way that he went through he would go from the sides, and one of the things I really liked about watching Aiden do his stuff was he would put his body into motion every time he read his lines. He would never read his lines that I saw without doing the body language with it. He wasn't if it was a sitting down scene, he was sitting down. If he was running around the tents. But he always kept in motion, the body in motion. You get that muscle memory to go along with the lines. And those were the two that really stood out. Now with Mel Gibson and Jason Isaacs and Dermot, these guys have been doing it for so long. They'd walk in, they'd pick up the side, look at it for 30 seconds, put it in the chair, walk over, and boom, the scene's done. It was, those guys, it was just kind of like watching, like, okay, I don't know what happened, but it looked good. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, those were Aiden and Reese were the two that really stood out to me, and those were the two I learned the most from, acting wise.
I think that your comment about the pros there goes to the fact that they have been doing it so long, and that I think something that's beneficial for actors is, even if you don't have a project that you're cast in right now, be memorizing things, be doing that training with yourself. Mm-hmm. I took a commercial class years ago from, I think his name was Dave. He was the Charmin guy back, that would squeeze the Charmin way back when. And he said that he would, even in the bathroom, he would be going over lines and doing them in different accents. And every day he practiced. So I have to admit, I wasn't as good about practicing every day, but I do think that's where that muscle memory, as you're talking about, really gets built up the more you do for yourself and your career.
Well, and like I said, when I would get the sides, production would send out the call sheets and the sides to all the different department heads, and Susan, being my department head, would send them over to me. And so I was reading the lines, but I wasn't going into it thinking, what was going to happen was going to happen. I was doing it because of what you were talking about, just having something, getting that muscle memory, and just going over the lines, mainly so I could, while I'm watching what's going on, through the DP's lens or standing off to the side, I can be cognizant of what's going on and have a feel for what I'm looking at. And then it turned into something completely different. Now, there were people on that set who had so many missed opportunities just because their face was in a phone and they were sitting in a chair. For about the first week, I kept trying to get them involved, be like, hey, look what you're missing. They're like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna send another man. Okay, all right, see ya. So, their loss, but
yeah,
that muscle memory was, especially with Mel Gibson, that guy was amazing to watch, because he would be telling a story and he would have tears in his eyes because he was laughing so hard mainly at his own jokes. And then they would call him to get over on set, and he'd wipe the tears away. He'd blink a few times, and he'd drop down into sinister bad guy. And as soon as cut was called, he'd go right back and he'd finish the funny story, without missing a beat. So it was amazing to watch.
Yeah.
But it's one of the few things that I've been through since I was a teenager that I don't have anything bad to say about. I mean, it was an amazing experience. So if something comes out of it, cool. If not, mark something else off the bucket list. So
yeah, I'm so happy for you. And it sounds like you gained so much from just that one experience. And I really want to thank you for coming on and sharing it with us, and especially for people that are going to watch it in the replay. And I hope that if people have more questions when they watch the replay, it's okay if they post in the comments and you can
oh yeah, absolutely,
fill them in. So before we go, did any of you guys have any other questions that you want to ask Travis? Okay, it looks like we're good. So Travis, would you like to pray us out?
Oh, dear Jesus, I just want to say thank you for the opportunities that you've blessed upon us. I again thank you for this group. I've met some truly extraordinary people in this group. We all come together and we all are learning from each other. Susan for putting this on, and all of our guests. Just continue to pray that you look over us and guide us in the direction that you want us to go. Amen.
Amen. Thank you again so much, Travis. That was really fun. And we'll see you. And here's
Thanks,
to more
Trav.
opportunities.
Well, thanks for having me. It was fun.
Okay.
I'll see you.